all the gaming PCs that I've reviewed for you, Corsair seems to be the brand that the majority of you have leaned towards. You may have heard that today Corsair just revealed their newest gaming PC, but we've had it for a while now and we've got some things to share with you after all of our testing. I'm going to cut through all of that marketing noise and give you my honest and unbiased review of the Corsair One i500. This configuration that we have here for you includes the powerful 14900K CPU and liquid-cooled 4090 GPU. I'm going to quickly take you through our unboxing and what's included, gaming and creator benchmarks, design and build quality, the internals, thermals, fan noise, overall ease of use, pricing breakdowns and comparing its price to performance ratios against the competition, and my overall top likes and dislikes. If you decide against this PC after anything that I say in this video, just keep watching because I'm also going to be sharing with you some alternative PCs that I recommend for every budget. I'll include links down below for all the computers that I mentioned. I guarantee that by the end of this video, you will know if this PC is right for you or not. But if you still have any questions after watching this entire video, just shoot me a comment, and if you're publicly subscribed, I guarantee a personal response. Your unboxing will be a little different since ours came in a pre-release case, but what's included is basically all the same. We've got a warranty guide and your typical fancy unpacking instructions for the people that have never used a computer before, an incredibly thick power cable, and 2 antennas for Wi-Fi. This gaming PC is pretty unique when it comes to design. The RGB lighting on it is actually touch sensitive in a very intuitive way. You can actually change the color by dragging up and down the center bar. Holding and releasing on the bottom bar will change the RGB effect, and then swiping up and down on that bar will change the brightness. My only complaint is that there's not more color options. There's basically one type of blue, one type of green, nothing in between. And then on the back, tapping on the top section of the rear panel will illuminate your ports so you can actually see things for once. We got the dark wood panel option with the dark metal chassis, but they'll also be offering a bright maple wood option with a more light metallic aluminum looking case. Pretty cool that these are actually made out of real wood, so no two PCs are the same. And Corsair is actually committed to donating 1 tree per PC sold. And I'm told there's also going to be a third option, which is a brushed aluminum panel similar to the last Corsair One. Unfortunately, the front panel is not going to be a user swappable thing because there's a lot of lights and everything connected to it, so that's kind of a bummer. What you get is what you get for life. The dark wood is definitely my favorite though. I haven't personally tested the drop accessories designed to match these two cases, so I can't say if they're good or not, but you might want to go check those out if you need everything to match. A pretty cool design choice, we've got these 2 notches on both sides that actually allow you to attach a headset hanger that also came in the box. Pretty simple, but a nice and clean way to keep everything off your desk. It does take slightly longer to access the internals on this one than most. First, you have to pop off the side filter and then remove another metal grill, but before that, you need to remove 2 screws before you can pop it off. And then after all of that, you have 2 more screws that you have to remove in order to swing open this door to actually access everything. This is quite the improvement over the last Corsair One though, which was not user upgradable. We've got 5 fans total in here consisting of 3 intakes on the side and 2 exhaust on the top. The first thing that concerned me with this PC that actually surprised me when I opened it up was the fact that this super powerful 14900K CPU only had a 120mm AIO liquid cooling system. And we're going to show you how that affected thermals here in a sec. For the newcomers out there, this is the most important part of keeping your CPU cool. This cooling block right here uses a liquid to take the heat that's generated from the CPU and transfers it up through these tubes into this 120mm radiator where the heat is spread out and then cooled off with this intake fan on the other side. Usually with an i9 CPU, gaming PCs will utilize a 360mm radiator 3-fan combo, not a 120mm 1-fan combo. To the right of our CPU, we've got our super fast 6000 MHz Vengeance DDR5 RAM. Included in this top tier build that we got is 2 sticks of 32 gigabytes for a total of 64, which is definitely overkill for gaming, but pretty useful for content creators that do a lot of motion graphics or editing or 3D work. Underneath the CPU, behind this metal heatsink, is our extra M.2 SSD slot for more high-speed storage. And then beneath that, the most significant and most expensive part of this PC, the reason it costs so much, our liquid-cooled GameRock Omni Black 4090 GPU. Removing this requires you to take off this metal plate and fan first. As you can see see, an actual 4090 GPU, after stripping it of all of its added heat sinks and fans that you normally find on a GPU, it's actually pretty small. This monstrosity is what this GPU normally looks like before it's stripped down for water cooling. Pretty crazy. In this PC, it's hooked up to an all-in-one water cooling setup with a 240mm radiator and 2 fans. Behind our GPU is where the main SSD that our operating system is installed on sits. For the premium price tag on this PC, I do think that the main drive should have included a heatsink to keep it cool. We did get decently fast speeds of about 6.7 gigabytes per second read and almost 5 write. The motherboard that all of this sits on is an MSI Mag B760M Mortar Wi-Fi motherboard, which also includes 2 extra PCIe slots for any expansion cards that you might want to add. Unfortunately, since the water cooling block is in the way of the first one, only the second one is actually usable. And then at the very bottom included in this build is a Corsair SF1000L 1000 watt power supply. And then swinging around to the back and removing that back panel in the same way we did the front, here you can see that we've actually got some pretty impressively cleaner than normal cable management, and then one 2.5-inch SATA SSD bay for more high-speed storage. Unfortunately, there's not enough room for a traditional 3.5-inch mechanical hard drive in this one. Most pre-builds have enough room for 2. Most people that want a smaller and compact PC though understand these trade-offs. Despite its compact design though, this thing is actually pretty heavy. For the ports on the front, we've got a headphone and microphone combo jack, 2 USB-A's and 1 USB-C, and then on the back, 7 more USB-A's and 1 USB-C, an HDMI and display port directly connected to the motherboard. You'll only really need these if you're having trouble with your GPU, a 2.5G Ethernet port, connectors for Wi-Fi antennas, and 6 high-quality audio outputs. And then on the back of our 4090 GPU, 1 HDMI and 3 display ports. For the software, Corsair went a different route with this one. No more iQ app. In fact, iQ won't even work with these fans if you download it. Instead, we've got a more simplistic and basic but pretty reliable program called the Corsair One dashboard. This lets you control all of your RGB effect animations, the color if you choose to just go with a static solid color. I know I said that you were pretty limited with those touch sensitive controls on the front with what colors you could actually choose. That's not the case here. You can actually choose whatever color you want. Then over here on the side, we've also got your coolant temperatures and the status of your fans. Unfortunately, there's no fan controls here. All of that needs to be done within the BIOS. And thankfully, within the BIOS, there's a lot of other controls that you can fine tune if you want to do things like overclock and squeeze every last drop of performance out of your PC. When it came to the fan noise, when the computer was idle, we got about 41 decibels. And then when moving up to intense gaming, it brought the fan noise up to about 45.3 decibels. Unfortunately, in performance mode, it is a little louder than most, but not that noticeable for people that actually play games with the sound on. For the thermals, you can see in our thermal imaging time-lapse from computer off to full-on gaming that we do get a significant amount of heat exiting out the top. Then peeling back all the layers and opening everything up, we can see a little more in detail what's getting the hottest here. 4090 GPUs usually get pretty hot, but this one was kept under control due to that liquid cooling. The CPU, on the other hand, a little hotter than usual. These were our CPU temps for several different games at 1080p. Pretty hot on all games when you compare it to some of the other more recent gaming PCs that we've reviewed. These were average temperatures too, so every now and then we actually did see temperatures get as high as 100 degrees before it pulled back. The CPU is designed to handle temperatures that are that high, but still it makes me a little uncomfortable to stay in that range for too long. Performance is likely what you care the most about though, and we're going to get to that here in a sec. Now, when we averaged all of these gaming temperatures together and compared this PC to some of the others from the past year, we get an even better overall perspective on how it stacks up against all configurations of all shapes and sizes. And you can see here that we've got the hottest CPU that we've seen in a pre-built PC. The GPU, on the other hand, with a larger liquid cooling system, with that we actually saw lower than average temperatures, actually tying the GPU temperatures in last year's much larger Corsair Vengeance i7-400. But now for the performance and gaming benchmarks. And up next, the most important part of this review, the price to performance ratios. For Cinebench R23, which simulates its 3D rendering power, we got a multi-core score of 36,058 and a single core score of 2,327. All rendering software can utilize multiple cores, so that's the most important score here. This was a CPU-based rendering test, and you can see here in the charts that despite the hotter than normal CPU, we actually got a better than average performance here. Another very helpful test for you 3D renderers is the V-Ray benchmark. And these were our CUDA RTX and overall V-Ray performance scores. For the GPU scores, we have a new chart topper with the absolute best real-time graphics results of any PC that we've ever had come through the studio. This is an important score if you're doing a lot of high polygon 3D modeling or real-time viewport rendering and lighting. And then comparing its overall V-Ray performance to the others showed it to be within the top 4 of all of the gaming PCs that we've tested. That's pretty impressive for this compact design. And for those of you who use Blender, unfortunately a lower than average score for the GPU test and just an average score for the CPU benchmark. And the last set of benchmarks for creatives before we get into gaming are the Puget Benchmarks. For DaVinci Resolve, we got 3640. If you're an editor, this should really excite you because this is the best score that we've ever seen here. Even better than that way more expensive Origin PC Genesis that we reviewed and the best-selling Corsair Vengeance i500. Adobe Premiere 16211. Again, the highest score that we've ever seen in a top-tier gaming PC and another popular editing software, proving this PC to be the best bet when it comes to 4K editing with minimal lag. Same thing with Photoshop, the fastest we've ever seen here. If you're not even a gamer and you just want the best PC for creative work, you can't really go wrong with this one, if money's not a factor. We'll get to that here in a sec. For 3D Mark, which is a great benchmark used to determine a computer's overall gameability, we plugged in these overall graphic and CPU scores into our master chart, and again, the highest score that we've seen here as well. For those of you looking to step up your VR graphics and take them to the next level, this PC performed pretty well in our VR Mark benchmark as well, with a score of just over 20,000. Not the best overall, but still above average here. Actual gaming benchmarks are likely what you guys care the most about though. And these were the FPS that we got for 6 different games at their highest presets at 1080p. As you can see, it holds its own very well against the competition. So well, in fact, that when we averaged all of the gaming FPS together and put it up against over 30 of the past PCs that we've tested, it actually stood at number 1, even higher than the new Corsair Vengeance i500. Same thing at 1440p, the highest average FPS that we've ever seen at that resolution as well. Things changed a bit at 4K though, it basically peaked itself out here. Still great performance, just no longer in the number 1 spot. But to be around the top 5, that ain't bad. Justin, how much does this powerhouse cost? Oh, I'm glad you asked. Right now at launch, it's gonna make your wallet $4,700 lighter. This is a whopping $800 more expensive than the similar spec version of the Corsair Vengeance i500. That's quite the hefty price tag to pay for a PC that's just slightly faster and in a more elegant and sleeker looking design. Actually, most gaming PCs in this same configuration are quite a bit cheaper. Water cooling a GPU is pretty expensive. And here you can see that this PC has one of the highest dollar per FPS ratios out of all the gaming PCs that we've tested so far. The least expensive i9-4090 combo here is actually that Alienware Aurora R16 that we reviewed. Similar results in our 1440p chart. We got a pretty high price to performance ratio here too. If you need something that's just really inexpensive for basic gaming, then check out my reviews for the top 3 on this list. Those have an insane value. But most likely you're watching this video because you want premium regardless of price. And then jumping into 4K resolutions and running those numbers, again, as you would expect, a pretty high ratio here as well. One thing to keep in mind that makes Corsair PCs actually worth a few $100s extra in my opinion is the fact that they have double the warranty of most other gaming PCs, with a 2-year warranty versus 1. Now, if you're understandably at a different price point, these are my recommendations for every budget. I've also got links down below in the comments and description for all of them. If you need to be under $4,000, the Corsair Vengeance i500 is what I would get. It's also the one that the majority of my viewers end up going with. It's not as stylish and sleek and compact as this work of art, but it's a better value and way more upgradable. With a budget closer to $3,000 at just over $3,300, the Alienware Aurora R16 is actually a pretty good deal. I would only get this one if and only if you don't plan to upgrade to next-gen components. Proprietary Alienware PCs are only really for those that find modifying their PC to be a chore and tend to just toss their PCs for a brand new one after a few years. If you need to be under $3,000, then I would go with this i7-480 version of the CyberPower PC Gamer Supreme for just over $2,600. And if that's still too much for those with a budget under $2,000, that Skytech Azure 2 that I reviewed with a 4070 Ti is what I recommend. And for $1,000, this exact version of the HP OMEN 25L that I reviewed with a 4060, a Ryzen 7, and 16 gigabytes of RAM. If you're coming from a console like an Xbox Series X or a PS5 and you want your graphics to at least match that, then you're going to need a PC with at least a 3060, or in this case, a 4060 GPU. And if you're okay with a PC that just gets you by and are okay with very low graphic settings, then I would get this exact Victus by HP 15L for about $650. Overall, the main things that I didn't like about this PC was how hot that CPU got and the price. I'm hoping this is just an introductory tester price, not what they're sticking with long term. But at the same time, it is expected to have a more expensive computer when you're water cooling a GPU. The main things that I loved about this PC, that sleek and compact design that just looks really elegant but still masculine at the same time, and those touch sensitive features. But what impressed me the most with this PC was how well it performed for gamers and creators. If you do decide to purchase this PC or any of the others that I mentioned, then please remember to use my affiliate links in the comments and description below, as I get a small commission at no cost to you for every single purchase made. And it's actually a major factor in keeping this channel going and getting better and better for you. I'd also like to personally thank all of my members for their monthly support of this channel. I really appreciate you guys. Also, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe with notifications turned on to stay up to date with all of my latest tech and gaming PCs. Thanks for watching, guys. I love you guys. God bless.